But over time, I learned, and specifically once I learned to draw my dreams, that it wasn't that hard work was my problem. It was clarity. Clarity was the missing key. The big idea is that a clear dream gets your brain on your team. Difference between these massively different results, not about using a different kind of planner. It's not about reading another productivity book. The difference is one word: clarity. The problem is not that you need to work harder, it's that you need to see things more clearly. Welcome to Hyperfocus and High Performance with Christine Howe, where we explore how you can work with your brain, build your dreams, and live on purpose with more clarity, creativity, and presence. There's one night as a young mom I remember very clearly, and I just remember plunging into bed. My head hit the pillow. And I wasn't discouraged. I was defeated. I had some really important things to get done. I couldn't get them done. And I didn't know why. I just couldn't get these very important things accomplished. And sure, you could say, oh, it's just young motherhood. That's just the way it is. But it was worse than that. And I knew it. I was with other mothers and they were able to get some things done. So what I did was like most people in that situation would do. I promised myself the next day I would work harder. And so the next day I woke up early and I worked from the time I woke up until the time I went to bed. I worked so hard the entire day. There was no doubt that I had worked hard. I was a hard worker. At the end of the second day, I did the same thing. It was late at night. I probably finished washing dishes, putting away things, blowing out the Capri Blue candle that smelled so good. And I still, after working from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed, did not get the most important things done. For me, this was a turning point because I had always thought, well, perhaps I'm just lazy. Perhaps I'm not a hard worker. But I ruled that out that day. And it was no longer about working harder. The next morning, as I ate my zucchini bread with melted butter on it, I had to address the fact that it wasn't that I wasn't working hard. It was that my hard work wasn't working for me. What I discovered over time, and it took me a lot of time from that moment, I didn't discover the next day my answer. But over time, I learned, and specifically once I learned to draw my dreams, that it wasn't that hard work was my problem. It was clarity. Clarity was the missing key. I had tested the theory that I wasn't working hard enough, and I ruled it out. When I was in the garage drawing my dreams, then organizing my freezer, then organizing my closet, then trying out relationships and asking myself what just happened when all of a sudden I could achieve the goals. The big shift from plunging my head on the pillow, discouraged, then defeated, to, oh my gosh, I can set a goal and achieve it. What just happened? The big idea is that a clear dream gets your brain on your team. The difference between these massively different results are not about discipline. The difference is not about using a different kind of planner, unless it's think time. It's not about reading another productivity book, and it's even not about another cup of coffee. The difference is one word: clarity. What I've discovered is that clarity cuts through the chaos. It can be internal noise, it can be external noise, it can be competing priorities. And this clarity helps your brain get on your team. You see, your brain has the filter, and we mentioned this briefly already in a past episode, called the RAS, the reticular activating system. And it filters for you the vision that you want to achieve and helps you to see what you're looking for. I lived in Texas for about 20 years, and they said there, you're going to find what you're looking for. And that's basically a good summary of what this podcast is. But with this filter, the RAS can be engaged as you draw your dream. And so when you draw your dream, you're telling your brain what the vision is. Research shows that even when you're not thinking about it, your brain is getting to work in the background to find opportunities for you to achieve this goal. And the two things you really want to achieve is a clear vision and then feeling that moment. So when I'm talking about clarity, it's for the ADHD mind. If you try to force discipline or get through with grit, that works for other people, but it's kind of like herding caffeinated squirrels. It just doesn't work very well. One author calls it herding tigers, right? Like, you are a strong leader and you're going somewhere with power, right? And so to me, clarity is that piece that really helps us to harness the hyper focus. I'd love to introduce you to something I created specifically for brains like yours. Think Time membership is a guided neuroplanning membership designed to help you align with your design, work with your brain, and build your dreams with more clarity, confidence, creativity, and presence. Instead of forcing yourself into systems that don't fit you, you'll learn how to plan in the native, creative language of your brain using my neuroplanning framework. Love your design, then dream, decide, do, review. Inside the membership, you'll join a community of growth-oriented leaders for weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual guided planning experiences, so you'll never have to figure it out all alone. Your membership also includes access to the Think Time Neuroplanner, a whole brain visual planning system designed to help you harness the strengths of your mind instead of constantly fighting against it. And when you join, you'll receive access to the neuroplanning course and tutorials, planning tools and templates, live group coaching, monthly Q&A, and a live onboarding session so you can begin to use the system right away. If you're ready to increase your opportunity to experience more clarity, calm, confidence, creativity, meaningful productivity, and presence while getting more of the right things done in less time with peace, not pressure, visit think-time.com/podcast. I'd love to help you build a life that works with your brain, aligns with your design, and reflects what matters most. And so 6 months after that moment where I was just discouraged and then defeated, I found out clarity cut through the noise. And I was remembering back to a class I'd taken in graduate school by Howard Hendricks. It was a creativity class. And I knew that engaging the creative right brain parts of our mind would help us get emotionally connected to our goals. But I didn't realize how much the visual piece of that would also make a difference. And so engaging the creative side of my brain alongside the visual part gave that clarity that's aligned. I guess I'll call it an aligned clarity. So instead of just diving in, now I pause and I draw my goal that I want to achieve. So the big picture thing that I want you to understand is that a clear dream gets your brain on your team. If you think about your life as like a dense fog, what I realized in that moment of clarity in my garage was that I didn't need more discipline, even more work, more time, a different brain, a different personality. I needed clarity to help me cut through the noise. And I fed it to my brain in its first language, which is an image, right? And then I thought about how would I feel if this were done? And that's an emotion, that's a sensory experience. And so these two things, images and sensory associations, whether you're going to say, what do I want to see, touch, hear, smell, and taste, like these feelings and the image, that kind of visceral clarity, I call it a visceral vision, can help to engage more of your mind so you can get the right things done in less time. And the key science on this that I think is really, really compelling is that, let me just ask you a question. Do you know how many decisions come from your conscious mind versus your subconscious mind? Well, if you've guessed anything less than 95%, you're off. Like, we make almost all of our decisions from the parts of our minds that we're not conscious of and consciously aware of. So the more we can influence the deeper parts of our brain, we have immense capacities to do better. Like, we have a lot of room to grow, basically. I'd say most productivity systems just stay in that conscious awareness piece. And so when you draw an image, that gets stored more deeply. It gets stored in an emotional place. And so you increase your opportunity to make a gut level decision with accuracy and alignment when you get in touch with what matters most and then draw your dreams. What if clarity was the missing key to your progress? Most people think that you have to work harder, right, to get where you want to go. We've talked about that. But we know that busyness is not the same as productivity. And so if you're moving fast, but in the wrong direction, I think that's the worst thing possible. That's not going to get you where you want to be. And then you're left without energy and without results in the right direction. So if you can imagine yourself like driving in a dense fog and you're gripping the wheel and you're leaning forward, trying to see through the mist, your heart's pounding because you don't know, like, is there a turn ahead? Is there a cliff, a stop sign, another car, dog? It's like, that's kind of how it feels when you don't have clarity. You may be working really, really hard, imagining all the possibilities, but without a clear path or clear vision ahead, you're constantly second guessing yourself and using up a lot of your mental energy. So if you're thinking about spinning, sometimes I know that I didn't create clarity for myself if I'm in a moment and thinking about a lot of other moments. Oh, should I be doing that? Should I be doing that? Should I be doing that? That is the way I lived 35 years of my life. I remember my mom saying, Christine, you always like live with this regret thing, like you're always regretting that you didn't do that or you didn't do that. And it's because I couldn't have the forethought to see what I needed to do, plan it, schedule it, and then be in that moment. And so with think time, you're constantly envisioning the future, getting in touch with what matters most, and then creating that clear path forward. And so what would it be like for you if you could clear up that fog? What if you could get a clear picture of where you're going and the best way to get there? That's what we want to talk about today. And I don't want you to see clarity as like just a hack or a productivity tool. It's central. It is the key to bringing your ideas into your reality from, taking that gap of what you think you can perform or what you think you can accomplish and what you're actually accomplishing, closing that gap. I really believe that clarity is that piece. And so as we talk about clarity, I want to talk about two things. One is distractions and one is decision fatigue. The biggest thing for me about clarity is that my experience was I would look forward and see 100 options, and I would have no way of knowing which direction, which task, which activity I needed to do. But once I knew how to engage clarity and feed it to my brain did that heavy lifting for me. And now I know that's what the reticular activating system, it's my brain's bouncer. It's getting the distractions out for me. And so it just makes decision making faster and easier. And this can be even where clutter comes in too, where clutter is just unmade decisions, right? But with distractions, they steal our attention. And so if you can calm the distractions, the fiery darts of distractions, and you can get that clarity that moves you forward, the world is designed to steal our attention. I mean, think about notifications, emails, social media, your to-do list. I call it the tyrannical to-do list. There's always something pulling at you. And it's that clarity that can calm that noise. And clarity and distractions, they don't really exist together. So for me, I think that clarity is that thing that unlocks the focus and flow and presence and peace that we all want. When our attention is scattered, like I've heard it said before, your attention is your life. And if your attention is scattered in a million directions, it's really hard to make the progress on what matters to you in a clear way. And the second thing is, we talked about distractions. The second thing I wanted to mention was decision fatigue. If you're feeling stuck because you've gotten at the end of the day and you're drained, even though you didn't really accomplish that much, sometimes it can just be decision fatigue. Your brain can only make so many decisions in a day before it gets exhausted. And that can even lead to like getting snappy with people you love. And so every little choice that you have to make, from like what to wear to what email to answer, it all takes energy. And so if you're constantly making low impact decisions because you haven't created clarity for yourself, and everything you're constantly deciding throughout the entire day, all that you need to do, you don't have enough energy left for the big things and the big decisions that actually help move you forward. So the solution that I suggest is that we need a system, and that I've created, that reduces distractions and automates decisions so your brain can focus on what matters most. So when you apply the neuroscience of clarity, your brain, I think of it like when you don't have clarity, you can chug along, you can get from point A to point B, but it's like a 1950s Ford. And then when you have clarity, it's like a Tesla. Like you're going, you're going fast and easy, and it's clean energy, right? So the science of clarity, engaging your reticular activating system, you have these filters in your brain. Let them work for you. Let your reticular activating system be the bouncer, but you have to feed it the images in their first language of your brain that will help it to see where you're going, so it can fight distractions and help you find time for what matters most. So today it's a simple talk. It's pretty straightforward, but it's also central to my message. Clarity is not something just nice to have. It's that essential first step for making real progress. And if you haven't caught my episode, Drawing Your Dreams, which is my episode number 1, that to me is how you get clarity fast. So if you're feeling stuck, remember, the problem is not that you need to work harder, it's that you need to see things more clearly. Okay. So today, think about something that matters to you. If you're not making progress or you're feeling stuck, visualize like, what's the best case scenario? What if it were all possible? Draw that dream and feel yourself in that moment. What is that emotion you would feel when that happens? And the more you train your brain to focus on what truly matters, the easier everything else becomes. Okay, now we're moving into the next part of our podcast episode, and this is expert guest interviews. Don't worry, I'll still be doing solo episodes as well, but we're going to sit down with experts in ADHD, leadership, neuroscience, and high performance, so you can build a well-rounded picture of what it looks like to create your own personal peak performance plan. My hope is that as you hear these different perspectives, you'll discover ways to use more of your mind to get the right things done in less time, with peace, not pressure. We'll look at them through our unique lens and give you practical takeaways that you can use. So I could not be more excited about our very first interview. It's with my friend and colleague of many years, Nicole Santiago. If you've ever loved a child with ADHD, or you've been trying to figure out how to build an educational plan that truly fits the way their brain works, this episode is for you. Nicole brings so much wisdom, experience, and hope to this conversation. And whatever you do, don't stop listening early. At the very end, she shares what I genuinely believe is one of the most important things every parent of a child with ADHD needs to hear. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and isn't a substitute for individualized medical, mental health, or professional care. Every brain is different. Results will vary. Thank you for listening to Hyperfocus and High Performance. If today's conversation helped you think differently about how your mind works, I invite you to take the next step. Visit think-time.com/podcast and grab my free training. Why can't I find a planner that works for me? If you've ever felt frustrated, judged, even by yourself, overwhelmed, or simply wondered why everyone seems to be able to follow a system that simply doesn't work for you, you're not alone. In this free training, you'll discover how your brain naturally approaches focus, planning, and productivity, and why many traditional systems were never designed for minds like yours, and whether neuroplanning could help you increase your opportunity to experience more clarity, calm, confidence, creativity, and meaningful progress with peace, not pressure. And if this episode encouraged you, please subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a review so more brilliant, creative ADHD visionaries can discover what's possible. Remember, you don't have to become someone else to do what only you can do, because only you can be who only you can be, and otherwise there will be a hole in history. The path forward is clear. Love your design, then dream, decide, do, review. I'll see you next time.